And again, our red light is flashing. That means we're recording. Welcome back, Rio Grande Guardian viewers. Great to have you back for the latest in our Community Spotlight series. We have a returning guest. You've seen him here before on this channel, Ron Garza, City Manager for the City of Edinburgh. We're going to play catch up with Ron to find out about all the new programs he's working on, his administration's working on. Any new projects coming down the line. So welcome, Ron.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Good to see you again.
Yeah. And I said beforehand, there's just one subject I have, then I'll really open it up for you to tell us
Sure.
what you're doing. But I was just so intrigued by something that I had not heard about before until a recent city commission meeting, city council meeting, where you were telling us that TxDOT's got ideas for a new east-west corridor, perhaps slightly to the north of Edinburgh and to the north of Harlingen, connecting 281 or I-69 Central with I-69 East, 77.
Yeah.
And, you know, in terms of regional projects, they can't come more important, bigger than that. And we're noticing that now with all the roadworks on I-2 with the far interchange, we need more east-west routes. So tell us
Absolutely.
about that project, if you don't mind, Ron.
Yeah. So obviously, in my previous role, just from more of a regional standpoint, I mean, I don't think it gets bigger than having more east-west connectivity, and that was really the catalyst for really this final momentum and building up to what became the RGV MPO. Just making sure that everything that happens in Brownsville to Mission, Rio Grande City, North and Edinburgh. I mean, connectivity is so key, and things are just moving forward rapidly. So again, you mentioned the FAR interchange. That's kind of the epicenter of transportation as it goes right now. But this TxDOT's working on, ultimately connecting I-69, both from Hidalgo County to Willacy County and then into Cameron. So we're probably, I checked in with them about a month ago, but we're probably another month or so away, maybe a little longer, of knowing what alignment that they're proposing. And then the public input process starts from that, and then we kind of start shaping the final alignment. But yeah, once you actually see it on a map where this thing could potentially lay down, that's when it gets really exciting.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I think not only from now being in the city of Edinburgh, but just on a bigger valley scale, other people really look at that, and investors and site selectors and all across the country and really the world. Hey, if there's more ways to connect assets like the Port of Brownsville to the other shallow ports to our ports of entry, and I mean that is all that just gives us other check boxes that site selectors look at. So very exciting. And again, TxDOT's working really closely. I know Andrew Cannon with the MPO is pushing, real hard to advocating for all of this together. So we're really excited. And then for a city like ours, because we have different road projects that would come right just south of some of our main entries, just north of some of our main entries, but that really does help shape, and because as you know, roads really do define and shape a city. So that alignment is going to be really key for us. And not only just freight, but humans coming in and out, students coming into the large campus that we have here, and all of that. So we're really excited to see that.
And because it's of such great importance regionally, you would think that the funding could be found. I mean, it could rise up the pecking order into one of the most important projects.
Well, mostly because when you have a project like that that benefits so many communities, then it's kind of reminiscent of things like the UT RGV School of Medicine. It gets a lot of people behind it. So corridors, having east-west corridors connecting 2-3 counties, I mean that means a lot to different elected officials and city administrators. So yeah, I could see this having a lot of support.
And sort of related before, and then we'll move on to the things you really want to talk about, but related point, you might have the answer to this. I'd heard a while back that there's the development that's happening in the valley, a sizable percentage of it is happening north of Monte Cristo, that of all the new developments, it's all happening, in the northern part of the valley, at least in Hidalgo County. Do you
Yeah.
happen to know the numbers there?
So don't know exactly what numbers you're talking about, but it's just kind of a natural progression of growth. Obviously you look at city of Edinburgh. We have a lot of city limits to our north. It is natural for development, and then at the very northern part of our city limits we have our airport. So it's common sense that at some point those assets will just kind of leverage and come together. So growth is going that way. We have our North Industrial Park, just right there in Monte Cristo, and then a lot of land availability. And we've been sitting down lately with the developers of the La Siena project there just north of Monte Cristo. So all those, I mean, it just talk about just being ripe for development. With what we're doing now in our Department of Economic Development, it's really been cool to see. And I don't want to deviate from the question, so if there's something I didn't answer, but so just kind of stepping back, our Economic Development Department was founded back in, it was June. So what that was this kind of alignment between our EDC and all that. So it really started with 0 staff. So this was a complete ground up rebuild, which is exciting. But we were able to bring in, a great director, great assistant director, Brian Kelsey, and now a director, Blanca Davila. And, now we got even further than that, and we bring in some economic development specialists. So we have a few more staff. So we're fully staffed there. And we've taken the first couple months to do an assessment of the assets and just, get our bookkeeping, in alignment and all that. But, what's really exciting is that now, so we just sold a property just a few weeks back, or just about to close on that. We're bringing in a cold storage to our North Industrial Park. And then we're about 30 days from announcing 2 other exciting ventures in that industrial park area and some other developments. So it's really cool to see now, in less than a year, this complete new rebuild has been working. We just approved the contract for a marketing service to completely redesign a website. And as you know, as we're doing right now, technology, this is the wave of we have to be marketable. And the reality is site selectors, or those that are interested in doing business with your city, they do a lot of research before they ever pick up the phone. So websites that are data-driven websites that are easy to navigate and answer those questions, that does more for a city, sometimes than even staff do, because it's the portal, it's the point of entry. So we're excited that we're finally redoing that. So we just signed a contract with a company that will be redesigning our website, and in about 3 months we should have the first overhaul of that website. So that's really exciting, because that's a big tool that our staff will be using for that. So the marketing plan, that's a big piece of that.
You mentioned just a moment ago the cold storage facility. Obviously, you can't perhaps give us any more details than that, but that interests me because just yesterday we were at an event in Weslaco where they also have just had a ribbon cutting for a new cold storage facility. So that industry, keeping the fresh produce cold, freezing cold before it goes all over the country, that industry seems to be booming. And it was before COVID, and now perhaps we're coming out of that. It's going again.
What's really cool about that industry also is that we announced the cold storage facility, which is infrastructure for a specific reason. Jobs around that point, has management and some middle skilled jobs, but it's really a progression of a lot of other industries that come together. So the position that the Valley's holding now in the supply chain of moving, goods, that's what's really exciting, because that's where the trucking industry, other logistics management. So, we announced the cold storage, but what we don't see sometimes are the other high-paying jobs that surround that and that are part of that spectrum. So that's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so Yeah, I want to give you the floor now.
Sure.
Yeah, we want to check in with you on a regular basis. So
Okay.
to know what's happening. Or you've always been one of the fastest growing, if not fastest growing cities in the valley. So can you tell us what's new?
Yeah. So, with that vein of of fast growth, something that we've been really looking at very carefully is ensuring that we grow, smart. So smart growth, because, sometimes the pace of the growth can outweigh, the parameters that you put into place, the policies, the strategy. So really, one of my focuses with in communicating to our city council is really doing this smart. So smart growth, we've kind of have an informal slogan now: growing fast, growing smart. That's kind of where the city of Edinburgh is right now. One big part of that is, so we're one of the few cities in the Rio Grande Valley to have a Unified Development Code, UDC, which is, nothing but a group or a set of ordinances that really kind of define the parameters of development. And, not a lot of people think of these things, but this is what, sets minimum road widths, ratios of parking, and, all these things that are involved with, drainage and flood mitigation and all these kind of things. And we've had a UDC for a while. I believe it's going on about 6 to 8 years, but we were really due for a refresh. And the one that we have in place right now, it was our first version, and we've learned a lot of things. We've learned that, it's not every city is not a one size fits all type thing. And not only does the direction of your council come into play, but just the natural assets of that city. So we're also excited. We finally signed a contract to move forward with the UDC. And what's really cool about this is that it's like a planning process, but specifically around development. So over the summer, we're going to be bringing in our developers that do a lot of business here and hear from them. What are your challenges? Why can't you move faster? Why, what are restrictions that the city places on you that, don't allow for ample growth and all that? So it becomes this interactive process, because right now, they're faced with either they have to comply or they have to petition for a variance. And it's not really that much of an interactive process, but essentially they get to help us write our set of parameters. They get to help us write our playbook. So that's very exciting. I hope we get, and I believe we'll get a lot of engagement from our developers. And it really does, after that's in place, which is about a 6 to 9 month process, but after city council formally adopts this revision, it really does shape the next 5 to 10 years of what the city looks like. So again, not a lot of people really get into the weeds sometimes and understand this, but these group of ordinances really do shape a city. So parks, sidewalks, roads, multifamily development, all that come together. So again, Unified Development Code, it's not the most, appealing thing that we talk about, but really is the foundation for, all the other exciting things that come about. So that's one thing.
Yeah. So you say you're going to be meeting those developers in the summer period, or is that happening now?
So we just signed the contract. City council just approved the contract. We solicited an RFP for that, and then we're going to sit down now, create a scope and a kind of a timeline with the contractor, and then we start this engagement process, not only with the public, but really in depth with our developers. So yeah, I would think right around the May timeframe, May and early summer is when we'll start having these interactive workshops, and we're going to take it just kind of piece by piece. There's things like that we don't always think about, like parking of oversized trucks and trailers. I know that's a concern to people, but it has a business dynamic to it. So all those little intricacies, those are things that we'll be visiting over the course of this project. And about, again, 6 to 9 months from now, we'll be presenting that to our city council to adopt.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Next topic. What else have you got on the list?
You know, back to kind of this theme of smart growth. Another thing that the city council just approved on Tuesday night was kind of phase one of a very significant block. So we have this piece of property here that is just, you know, northwest. It's the northwest block adjacent to the courthouse. It's literally right off the courthouse square. And right now there's an old high school on there, but it's all city-owned property. And there's another, essentially it's just a parking lot that we use for our own equipment, overflow, you know, staff vehicles. I don't know what the formal name is going to end up to be, but we call that the McIntyre Square because that's just adjacent to McIntyre Street, which is actually now our McIntyre Promenade. So, and what's cool is that phase one is going to be the northwest corner, and phase one will be the design and engineering for an amphitheater and interactive water gardens. So this is really going to be a gathering place. And as things develop, like the new downtown development, this is going to be just a natural progression. So even the amphitheater in our initial concepts here, as you watch a performance, being a, you know, a theater performance, a live band, or kind of an outdoor movie, the backdrop, so those that are watching the performance, the backdrop will be the new courthouse, the courthouse square. So it'll be positioned just in a way to really highlight that area. So again, last Tuesday or this past Tuesday, City Council approved to move forward with the engineering and the design of phase one, which is kind of the northwest part of that block. I'm sorry, the northeast part of that block. But then the other part of that is the Sam Houston High School. And that is going to be either reconstructed or demoed and rebuilt to be a convention and cultural arts center. So our cultural arts board here in the city has been really championing this for about 10 years or so. And the arts is something that really does thrive in our city. So we're looking at models that it's going to be one part cultural arts center, one part convention center. So we can do, you know, convention and conference space. But then also we're really outgrowing City Hall. So the fact that this is literally adjacent to it, this will also serve as kind of the, supplementary City Hall annex type thing. So that's phase two. The funding for that is not secured yet, but you know, we're in the planning stages. But the good news on phase one, the amphitheater, the water gardens, some restrooms, and some green space, funding is already in place for that. So once we finish design, we may be breaking ground on that project here in the next 4 months or so. So, and again, I know amphitheaters, the Valley has a lot of amphitheaters, but this one is literally in the epicenter of the city and, you know, the courthouse square. So it's really going to be really cool. And we talk about catalyst projects. I think this is totally going to just spark the development. And it already has. The downtown square, you know, is already, there's a lot of movement, a lot of construction, not only the courthouse, but I think this is just going to kind of ramp it up to the next level. So really excited.
Do you currently have a cultural arts center, or is this brand new for you?
Yeah, this is going to be brand new. So we do have a cultural arts division of our library department. So we're a thriving cultural arts city, but it's kind of this, you know, they don't really have a venue, an anchor venue. So this will be that. So that's very exciting. And again, what's really cool, you know, we in the progress of cities, we know walkable communities are very important. And, you know, it's really been cool. This project of McIntyre Promenade, you know, it really was the priority. It's really been cool to watch it evolve over different, you know, city council administrations, how their visions continue to build on one another. And I think if you look at just the last, you know, 10, 15 years of city council direction, it's kind of been built, and each administration kind of shapes it. But it's really nice to see a progressive project like that. So, you know, it's very visionary, but it's really cool that now we're going to actually, you know, as I like to say, we're going to turn dirt on where we need to there. And again, I think that's just going to catalyze that area. It's really unique in the fact that it's a walkable promenade. You know, we have actually abandoned a roadway and turned that into a walkable promenade. And right now, we're actually just finishing construction. If you go to the furthest end to the west of the promenade, now we're actually doing the UTRGV connector on this 13-foot wide, nice meandering walkway. So now students can come back and forth. We have the transit center now. The transit center is open. I'll talk about it here in a second, but we launched 2 new services this week. So I definitely want to highlight that. But again, this McIntyre Promenade District is really coming together. And as a matter of fact, so tomorrow night, Friday, March 5th, we're launching our first, it's called the Food Trucks and Tunes event, right in that promenade. So we took some existing land that we owned and we just put a little infrastructure to it and we turned it into this beautiful food truck park. So again, with the fact that we abandoned a roadway already, when we have events, all we have to do is just place, you know, vehicles, food trucks on that roadway, and then we have all this eatery space. So we're really excited for that. We'll ceremonially open that up tomorrow at 5 p.m. So Friday, March 5th, we're launching our Food Trucks and Tunes. And then we're going to have that. We're going to start by doing this the first and third Friday evening of every month. And then we're just going to kind of organically let that project, you know, grow on its own. And you know, obviously we're still right in the midst of ensuring, you know, public safety, and we want to, you know, we have COVID protocols, and we, you know, been really diligent in the way we space things out. But you know, the community is really just you know, asking and requesting to really start doing things like this in a safe environment. So we're excited about this.
That was going to be my next question. What's been the feedback from the public as you developed that square? You know, like you said, over a number of administrations, but things seem to be gathering pace there. What sort of feedback do you get when you say to the public, we're going to give you walkability opportunities?
You know, we just wrapped up the comprehensive plan, which was kind of the starting blocks for this UEC. And, you know, the #1 request that came from the general public over and over was walkability, walking trails. And that had been planted the last year and a half or so. But being in a pandemic environment, we're outdoors. I'm so happy because I love being outdoors. I really do, all the time. And the fact now that it is really spotlighted how significant being outside is, that these infrastructures like an amphitheater, walkability, more trails, you know, not only just people are just so hungry for it, but it naturally creates a safer environment. It just does. So we are, you know, the city council is really committed to doing that. And again, what's really great, you know, and timely for me is I've been able to see where projects were, you know, got started years ago, but certain segments, certain pieces weren't complete or they didn't connect. And now you just kind of keep building on these things. So it's been great to see. It's been great to see kind of those building blocks. So, but yeah, this McIntyre Promenade. So there's a district in the Fort Worth Square. It's called Sundance Square. And for those that don't know it, you can Google it, you can visit it. That our McIntyre Promenade is definitely our Sundance Square. And I think it's going to have a lot of those similar things. And when we talk about the advancement of the Rio Grande Valley in terms of infrastructure, these are the things that people get excited about.
That is fantastic to hear. It looks like Blanca's joined us, but she was not aware that we moved it up and we started earlier than we should have explained to Blanca. But I don't think she's going to be joining us. Blanca Davila, who runs the economic development part of your city administration, but I know she's tuned in to listen. That's fantastic, and she's welcome to chat if she wants to. But
yeah, and I really, Steve, gotta, like I said earlier, I have to hand it to staff. It started with the city council supported, creating this economic development department, but bringing in good staff, and we've had to do, some resets, and this alignment process. It's a pretty heavy lift, and one thing that I'm very proud of what we've done is the transparency. And I know that word is used a lot, especially in government agencies, but now, our EDC is really operating, in a way that I don't think it ever has here, because not only do we have our EDC board of 7 that are helping drive the governance, that gets moved then to the city council. And, we are openly and publicly, talking about these projects. We're doing incentive agreements sometimes up and, in the public, and all those kinds of things. So it's transparency has really hit a new level. We have this dashboard on our website where members of the community can go in and actually see infrastructure and capital projects, how much we're spending, the timeline, the progress, photos, things like that. So that's very exciting to deliver transparency in such a compliant way.
Well, I do want to be respectful of your time, Ron. I know you said you've got some other things going on. Is there anything else, any other topics that you feel the viewers should know about?
We do have, one last thing, because, and I did mention, obviously, we are still in a public health emergency in the Rio Grande Valley. So we can't forget about that. And, I'm actually coming on my 1-year anniversary here with the city. March 23rd will be 1 year.
It's been a baptism of fire.
Yeah.
The challenges you've had to face.
Oh yeah, it's March 17th was our first disaster declaration. So in the tenure that I've been here, in this entire year, we've been under a state of disaster, which is unique, and we've had to shift and adjust. But we are at a point, luckily, that we've managed the crisis, that we can do these things, but we need to continue to do them safely. So just the environment that we stage things, be very sensitive about, and the whole community has been embracing these things. They're excited about it, but at the same time, everybody's still just kind of cautiously optimistic. So I can't go on and say about all these great things that we've been doing without just kind of reiterating the fact that we're not out of the woods, and we all have to continue our personal safety, and hopefully soon we'll be really getting to those gatherings and things like that. But not quite there yet, but continue. I'll be excited to continue to report on our progress, so that we can talk about these large scale events, using all this exciting infrastructure.
And I would imagine that, like you say, not out of the woods yet. These we simply haven't turned the corner as a nation yet. So all the safeguards you had in place stay. People visiting city properties continue to wear the mask, social distance, etc. That's still in place.
Absolutely. And people are asking for that. And our local businesses too, in alignment with our chamber and of course, our economic development department, they're for the most part right now, we've heard almost 100%. They're gonna retain keeping the mandate for the masks, and which is good, because just like the governor intended for this to be a decision of business owners and the community. Well, I think our community still has decided that we still need to keep our safety standards, at least for now.
Well, thank you. Probably we ought to leave it like that for now. I'm sure there's some other things. This is an open-ended opportunity. It's just great to have you on this platform as regularly as you want to be on there, Ron, because there's just so much going on in Edinburgh, and it's hard to keep up. So please come back anytime and tell us what you're doing.
I appreciate that. And yes, I'll look forward to meeting with you maybe next month or so, a couple months, and just kind of, continuing this theme of smart growth. And again, we're growing fast, but we got to grow smart.
You got it. Okay. Well, thank you again, Ron. We'll pause it there, and we'll say we'll sign off with the viewers and say thank you again for joining us.